Welcome. I'm excited. Everybody's here. Excited about the season. It's getting on us quick. We've been really lucky. As cold as it's been, last weekend we were able to scrimmage. Team practice started on Friday. We were able to do quite a bit before that. And our guys have done a really good job dealing with the cold weather. But thankfully, the weather warmed up enough for us to scrimmage Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and this week has been awesome. We've had great weather. Our guys are in terrific shape. They worked over Christmas break. The window's really short when they get back, which is something that we hopefully are getting close to addressing in college baseball. It looks like where we can start our team practice earlier. But with that being said, we couldn't be more excited. The season's right around the corner. My job now is just to we've got an older team for the most part, is to keep them focused on today and not let them count too many days ahead.
Feels like you've lost a lot of talent, but it also feels like you've really reloaded with all the transfers. Would you say reloading is accurate?
You know, you'd like to use that word. I don't think we'll know how much we reloaded until the season gets going. Our schedule is incredibly difficult. I'm sure all of you have broke it down pretty good. You know, Texas Tech's rolling in here right out of the gate. One of the best programs in the country over the last 5 to 10 years. But, yeah, we're happy with the guys that we have brought in. But, again, you know, Parks Harbor's in there hitting in the cages. Casey Cook's in there hitting in the cages. You know, Vance has been in town. Dalton Pence is training here. So I'm also realistic. You don't necessarily replace those type of guys right away. We'll have a different type of team. I don't think we're going to hit 100 and however many, 15. Thank you. Home runs. We may. That would be a pleasant surprise. But, you know, we lost some really, really good players and some really great leaders. But I do feel confident that we have some players that can step in and give us a chance to compete nationally.
Scott, the last few seasons you guys have opened with teams like Seton Hall and Wagner here in Bosch, and no disrespect to them, but Texas Tech is a bit of a step up in terms of competition. Why did you feel it was important to bring them in, a power conference team, to open this season?
You know, you said that, not me, about a step up in competition. Baseball is a funny game. You know, that guy on the mound can neutralize you quick. But Texas Tech, obviously, you said it right from the standpoint of they have been really good. Technically, they were down last year nationally, but they really weren't. It was just a game here or there. The line's so fine. But I know Coach Tadlock, J. Bob and I, one of their assistants, go way back, and we just kind of worked it out. We had lost an opponent. They had lost an opponent. And we were talking about it in person somewhere on the road recruiting, and I told them we had it open, and they looked into it, and the next thing you know, we had it set up. So I'm just excited about it. I mean, anytime you can get a team like that, usually it ends up being a home and home. We couldn't make that work because our schedule was already done in advance for the most part in 2026. So they were gracious enough to make it work on their end. And Tim likes to go on the road and play tough teams, so we're excited about it for sure.
Scott, what's the challenges of keeping a program at your level at this day and age with NIL and all the transfers? What's it like keeping a program at the level you guys have sustained?
Yeah, that's the biggest challenge. And you know, it's the Dean Smith way is what I've always said. I've had the most respect for any sports program that has been consistent. And when I mean consistent is they're always in the mix to be in the postseason and hopefully always in the mix to compete nationally. And honestly, what it takes is just a ton of hard work. You have to have a great staff that is willing to recruit, to beat others through hard work in the recruiting world. And then you have to believe that when you get here, you have some development. The guys believe in the culture. They believe in the standards. You have to hope that your retention rate is good in today's age, you know, especially with the guys that are in here playing every day. And then maybe some guys that may not play every day that would play every day somewhere else their freshman year, but they love it here. They stick with it here, and they find a way to help us win. So I would say that those things mostly.
Coach, how important is it to get a taste of Omaha for the guys that were coming back this year?
Oh, I mean, I saw it in 2006, not saying we're going to go 4 years in a row, but that's a powerful thing because you get there and you know what it's like, and everybody in that locker room that was there wants to go back badly, and then they can tell all the new guys, hey, here's what it takes so you know to get there. Because they've also been on, not all of them, but a lot of them have been on teams that have not made it to the College World Series. So it's very important.
Coach, I know you still have things to figure out, but so far through what you've seen, I mean, what do you like about this U team? What do you think the strength of this U squad is?
I like a lot about our team. The number one thing I like the most is I think we have some toughness. I think we have some guys that'll fight you, not bench clearing brawl type, but like they're hard-nosed, blue-collar players. I think the strength of our team is going to be pitching and up the middle, behind the plate, middle infield, and center field. I feel like the pitching depth will be the biggest strength, and it's a fierce battle to get into that mix on this pitching staff to pitch significant innings, which is a good thing.
Normally you narrow down your pitching staff to 8 to 10 arms. Do you think this year with all the depth you have, you can go more to the 10 to 14 range?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I do. It all depends on, how your starters end up pitching and how deep they go into games. But talent is talent and ability is ability. But still, it's hard, as the season gets going, no matter how the deeper staffs we've had, it still ends up being 8 to 10 get the bulk. But I think where that depth comes in is you don't have to wear those 8 to 10 out. You can give them a day and win a game with those. I hate to even say 10 through 15 because I feel like, if we're putting you in there, we believe in you.
Have you made a decision on an opening day starter with guys like Bolger and Jake and Jason Hall be here helping?
If I had to make a decision today, it would be DeCaro. He's bigger, he's stronger, he's throwing 4 pitches. Other guys want to pitch on Friday. Jake Knapp, I go by what I see. Yesterday was his first outing, which was exciting for everybody, but he checked the box in my eyes of looking like a Friday night starter. Now we have to get his pitch count up. We have to see how he feels today, how he recovers. So I like guys nipping on that Friday night, those heels. But if I had to say today, it would be Jason. But I'm not deciding today.
How have you seen Jason kind of grow and change entering the second season? What have you seen from him in the off season?
Yeah, just bigger and stronger, number one. Physically. So that comes through hard work and discipline. You're not going to get bigger and stronger. Some guys stay where they are, and some guys push themselves, and we talk about it all the time. That talent will wear off if you're not a consistent hard worker, but hard work will pass that talent. So Jason does work, but he's also more mature with his routine. He's more mature with everything, and he got a lot of big game experience. He failed a little bit. He had to come back on short rest, but at the end of the day, he led our team in innings pitched. He was a big game pitcher. But I would say overall, just top to bottom, academics, leadership, he's matured tremendously.
Just talking about Jake's day back on the mound yesterday, what did you see from him? What was that day like? Just what did it mean to you to see him back out there?
I mean, it's something about getting a little bit older. You get a little bit more emotional. So I try not to get emotional because I by nature, I'm not that emotional. But just watching Jake yesterday, it was hard not to, and talking to the team after, because everybody has injuries. But here's a kid that came to North Carolina from Walter State that could have signed professionally, came back after 2023 that could have signed professionally, and he came back for the right reasons. He wanted to try to help this team get to Omaha. He believed in Coach Gaines. He believed in Coach Howell. He believed in our program. He thought another year here, too, would make him better and be more ready for professional baseball. And then to see him go down in the preseason as our Friday night starter, that was difficult. And then to have another decision to make at the end of this season for me and him to sit down and look at the draft and look at the opportunities through free agency, and for him to decide that he felt like he wanted to come back for the right reasons. He wanted to try to pitch in Omaha because he's already been to Omaha, but he wants to pitch in Omaha. And he also felt like his rehab, his recovery through Tommy John would be better here, which is, a huge tribute to Coach Howell, Coach Gaines, and Terry Joe and our training staff. So it was really, for me, a cool day, because that's why you coach, to see things like that, especially for kids like him that come back for the right reason, and, you know, to go out there and watch them warming up 92, 93, and to hit 95, that's pretty cool.
So it sounds like Jake won't be ready maybe at the start of the season. So who would you think the Saturday, Sunday starters will be in the opening series?
Well, he'll be ready. He threw 25 pitches yesterday, so he'll be ready to throw 25 pitches based on what I saw, and he'll be ready to throw 10 at least at 95. So he'll be ready to pitch. It's just a matter of what role we put him in. Jake's a big guy. He's a horse. We'll just see where he is, and I see it being one of those announce the weekend rotation potentially the week of that first game, and not even be concerned about announcing the midweeks. We're going to go into Texas Tech and treat it like we don't even have midweek games. That's just what we've decided to do when we're trying to figure out roles. So he'll definitely be on a pitch count, but I could still see him being able to start. He just won't be able to go as many pitches as someone like DeCaro.
He's got three triangle teams in the top 15. You got Campbell, EC. It's a tough neighborhood to play baseball with.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, those rankings, I've been doing it long enough. I'm sorry, I just don't even put anything in them. But it is a tribute to the fact that people think enough of those teams to be ranked. And there are a lot of teams that aren't ranked that are really, really good in this area. You can't let your guard down on any midweek game here. That's the awesome thing about coaching in this state, too, is they're shorter bus rides to play great opponents. So, yeah, I'm excited about it. That's why we play East Carolina. That's why in the future, with the new ACC schedule, we'll figure out a way to still play NC State, still play Duke. And if it was up to me, the teams we didn't play in the ACC, I'd try to play them midweek if we could drive, because you got two border states with great teams as well.
Could you go through the one who is penciling in to start each position? Those are obvious, but just for
What do you think's obvious?
go behind the plate, third.
Yeah, I mean, if we play today, Luke would start behind the plate. Man, he looks great. You guys, I'm excited for y'all to watch him. Again, for me, he is that special talent that you get lucky to get on campus, kind of like a honeycut. So you have to start with Luke Stevenson. What he did as a true freshman last year, in my opinion, was unbelievable. Playing every day, catching that load, putting up those numbers. You look at his OPS, you look at his walks, you look at his home runs, you look at his RBIs. And, you know, we have Alex Madera back, who was scheduled to be our starting shortstop. Had a back injury. Colby went in at short. Then we put Ahmad at second, and they never looked back. So we'll move Ahmad over to short. But in my mind, it's not like we're moving a second baseman to play short. He's always been a shortstop, but he played second base last year. You know, center field, Kane Kepley. He's a special player, different type player than Vance, but he's not different from the standpoint he plays extremely hard. He can really run the bases, but he's left-handed. He's probably not going to hit 30 home runs, but he's got some power in there, so we're lucky to have him. He's an in-state kid, and he ended up at UNC, which is cool. You know, Vanderbreak's back, which is awesome. We're excited to have him back. Right now, he'll be our second baseman. Gavin Gallagher will play third base. Hunter Stokely will play first base. Lucky to have him back. An older player. Tyson Bass is a transfer we're extremely, excited about. If we played today, he was starting right field. Powerful player, very similar to D'Onofrio. Right-handed though, but power, can run. And then left field right now, the leading candidate is Rom Kellis. He had a heck of a year, one of the best junior college players in the country. Last year, hit above 400, close to 20 home runs. That's carried over here. He went to Auburn, then left Auburn and went to a junior college. And then, I would say McCadden dies right on the edge. He's shown really well. He caught every day at Liberty. Then we have a freshman that's really trying to find his way in the lineup in Perry Hargett, and then some other guys that will definitely complement those guys.
How about important making the adjustment? I mean, last year, I guess Madera and D'Onofrio were playing at a much higher level than they had played before, and they have to make the adjustments. Some of these transfers, it'll be the same sort of deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's where if you have a really good pitching staff, the fall is really important. because if you can get those guys, the Bass, the Angelo, including the freshmen, those at bats versus guys that have elite stuff, your eyes don't fool you. You don't have to catch up as much. And again, in the preseason, even more so now with these 3 to 4 weeks, we were doing live at bats before we started team. So our guys will be getting a lot of at bats. And, the overall speed of the game is the biggest adjustment because if you've been at UNC since August, you've seen these elite pitchers. So I'm excited. And I explained to the guys, hey, the game's the game. When it starts, just trust it. And AMAD showed that last year. D'Onofrio, he had Division III background, and he went to Quinnipiac. But some of these, what's unique about baseball is some of these conferences and teams that are Division III or Division II and even junior colleges, they'll beat you. When I say they'll beat you, they'll beat us. I mean, they've got arms. They've got kids that are going to get drafted for some reason or the other. They just ended up at a Division II or a Division III. They just don't have as many. So we feel like we're fortunate to have gotten some of the best from that level, Division III and junior college.
Saw you at the basketball game the other day. Belichick was there. You got to meet him or hang out with Bill Belichick yet so far?
I haven't got to hang out with him. I have met him. I'd love to hang out with him, though. I met him at the Chancellor's house. We spent a lot of time. I got to spend a lot of time talking to him and Michael Lombardi. I'm excited that they're here. Obviously, I'm one of those people that always ask questions, and I always want to learn. It's a different sport. But at the end of the day, he's managed teams, and so I'm excited about getting them over here. They've been really busy, obviously, as y'all know. But I'm excited about getting them here and letting them speak to our team and us trying to learn from him.
Scott, you have one-off midweek games against K-State and UConn, who were both in the Supers last year. Of course, you played Florida State and NC State, who were in the Supers last year. Top to bottom, you touched on the toughness of the schedule a little bit, but top to bottom, do you think this is the toughest slate that you've had as head coach?
I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at the other ones. I'm so wired to not go back and compare. But from what my coaches have been telling me is whoever made this schedule made a really, really hard schedule. So it's going to be difficult, but I like it that way. I tell our players it's about us more. It's about our opponent. If we don't play well, it doesn't matter anyway. But it really shows your weaknesses earlier, if you have any, and what you have to address before you get into ACC play. But this year, it doesn't matter. Even these midweeks, we have to show up and we have to play well. So that's the thing that I like the most when you do schedule a, quote, name team, is there's not much for me to say. I don't really have to remind our team that if they don't show up, they'll get their tails whipped because they know that they have to show up.
You brought an old friend back to the staff and Coach Scott Jackson. What's it been like working with him again?
Yeah, he is one of my closest friends. But you separate that. That's the loyalty and trust part. I brought him back here because I thought he would help us be better. And he has. He knows our staff. Coach Gaines worked under him at Liberty. He coached Coach Wiersbicki. He's known Coach Howell forever. So he's, the lay of the land for him's easy. The transition was easy. But he also has 8 years of head coaching experience. And that is so valuable for me, just talking about different things and getting opinions on different things. And it's allowed us to take our staff and have 2 coaches that are just working with pitchers and 2 coaches that are just working with position players. And that's where our players really, really benefit.
Is Matty your closer now? And if so, what kind of adjustment is that from middle relief to late inning role?
Yeah, Matty, if we started today, would definitely be our closer. A little bit unconventional type closer, kind of like Dalton, because he can go more than just 3 outs because he's got multiple pitches. He may or may not have added a third pitch that I think is going to be a weapon. So I'm not going to really get into that. Texas Tech and other teams will have to figure that out. But I'm excited. He's always been a low pulse guy. And I was a pitching coach a long time, and I like those low pulse guys. When I go take a trip, the heart's not beating too fast. I know the look in the eye. And you have to have that when you're a closer. There aren't many huff and puffing closers that can sustain a full season at this level in college or in the big leagues, and Matty's one of those. But there are other guys too that can close and that are capable of closing. And there's going to be somebody on the staff that really, really wants to start that's not going to. That it has a powerful arm, that's got strikeout weapons. And for us to reach our goals, they're going to have to embrace the role that we put them in. Because looking back last year, I felt like Dalton Pence might have been our best pitcher overall. And he might have ended up being our best starter if we would have started him, but Dalton didn't care about any of that. Matter of fact, the Rangers are starting him now in pro ball. Dalton was, yes, sir, whatever you need us to do. And I feel like we have a bunch of those guys. So I think you could potentially see Jake Knapp, depending on how things work out in that back end. Could end up being a guy like Aiden Houck. So there are other guys that are going to complement. And then some guys that y'all have never seen pitch that we're really excited about too.
Besides just having a closer, I mean, you lost a lot of 10 innings with Peterson, Pence, and Poston. Who are some of the guys in that pen that you think are going to step up and beat those innings this year?
Yeah, what's going to be interesting is what we do with Aiden Houck. Because, he was in the bullpen. If you look at his numbers, all of his innings were in big games, tight games. But he also threw pretty dang good after he moved into the rotation, and he's bigger, he's stronger, he's better. So whether or not he wins one of those weekend jobs, right away he would go into the bullpen if he didn't, or if we just felt like it was better for our team. So he would be one. Kyle Percival looks as good as I've ever seen him. He's bigger, he's stronger, he's more physical. I've never seen him hold his velo. I've never even seen him have velo like this. So there's a big difference when you're calling pitches when a low fastball is 91 compared to a high fastball last year of his 89. So again, he's in the starting reliever mix. Cam Padgett's taking a jump in velocity. He's got experience. He's got big game experience. Olin Johnson, Boaz, it's really going to be how it works and who we start that first weekend. So if Folger Boaz is not in the weekend rotation, well, there's a lefty that's 90-93 with a nasty slider that's in your bullpen. And then we have some young guys, we have a transfer from Princeton that's going to pitch for us, a lefty. He's always been a starter, but we're working him as a reliever. We've got three really good freshman arms, not just three, but three that stand out, Walker McDuffie, Ryan Lynch, and Cam Seagraves, who are also getting their pitch counts built up. So we're trying to figure all that out. But the best way to do that is let them figure it out for us for the most part. Watch them pitch, watch them get their pitch counts up, and then that last weekend, we'll throw guys in the roles that we feel like they're going to be in against Texas Tech. And I probably left somebody out. But again, it's a very fierce competitive battle on the mound.
Where's the leadership? Obviously, Luke coming back and catcher's just a natural leader, but you lost a lot of do what we do, not necessarily what we say, guys.
You know what? That's a great statement right there. And I think about that a lot because you also need your leaders to also be playing sometimes. But you need a bunch of leaders. And guys lead in different ways. We were fortunate last year that our team, obviously the coaches make the final decision, but I like to get input from the team, and they voted again on the same two captains, which I thought was pretty cool. Last year they voted on Jake Knapp and Jackson Vanderbrake. But we had Vance Honeycutt, who also learned to really lead, who I met with a lot and talked about, we needed more vocal leadership. He's a lead by example guy. But those two are back, which is a great feeling just from the standpoint you got one pitcher and you have one position player. And I do feel like they're both going to be playing and have a significant role. Vanderbrake, just had one of those years where he just couldn't get it going. But if you go back and look, 50 RBIs, even last year still had equal walk to strikeouts. He's looked like I've never seen him look. I don't want to put pressure on him, but he's worked to have a great season. He's weighing 205 pounds. He's got bat speed. I think he's going to settle in at second base and have a great year. And then Jake Knapp. But the other leaders, Luke Stevenson is for sure. And Alex Madera's done a really good job. It's his first year in the program, but Alex is an old school player. He is, when the game starts, he may be the nicest guy you've ever met. But man, he's got one goal, and he wants to win, and he's going to do whatever it takes to win. And his players have learned to follow him and his work ethic. So he's learned to lead, and then on the mound, really work with Jason DeCaro. And Kyle Percival stands out. Like, he's really taking the next step to learn how to lead. So I feel like we've got some good leadership in there.
Kepley,
Gonna go Tim Moore.
Kepley, you lead off man?
Man, I would say so. I don't know where this fly is coming from. Are those flies supposed to be gone when it's cold? So anyway, I would guess yes, because of his walks to strikeouts and his ability to steal bases. But man, Tyson Bass is right there as well, because he can also hit the ball off the batter's eye to lead the game, and he stole 31 bases last year. So I think those two are in the mix. Madera's had a great preseason as well, but I kind of like him a little bit lower right now. He doesn't have quite the elite speed that those two guys have. But I do think Madera's going to steal more bases this year, because he fought that back most of the year and played through it, and this year he's healthy.
Coach, what do you guys have turning up the middle, like you mentioned, as well as Gavin progressing as much as he did third and Stoke, and obviously back at first? I mean, how high are you just for defensive potential?
Yeah, I'm really high. It's going to be hard to be better than the middle last year. I mean, we had the best center fielder in the history of college baseball defensively. I didn't watch, in my opinion, but in my 20-whatever years, I've never seen somebody change the game like Vance Honeycutt did defensively. So that was just special for us to watch for 3 years. Now, I think Kane Kepley's as good a center fielder as we've had. He's in that same league as a Brian Miller and a Sky Bolt defensively. But our middle infield last year, they did not give many extra outs. We had like one game where both Madera and Colby had a weird game where they both made errors. But other than that, there weren't many. But I do think we can be elite. I don't know if we'll be as elite, but I feel great about it. Gavin's a year older. Gavin's moving better. He can also move and play other positions. But I feel like for our infield defense, that's our best lineup. Gavin at third, Amat at short, and Vandy at second. I do think Vandy's gotten better at second base. And you have to look at sometimes, too, if you're maybe you're not quite as good defensively, but what does Vandy break? Does he have 15 home run potential? Can he make up for that potentially offensively? So, I'm excited about it. And in this level of competition, you cannot give extra outs. But hopefully, all that depth we're talking about on the mound, we can strike more guys out too.
Coach, we'll get a lot more.
Yeah.
You mentioned Ron Kellis and his junior college experience. I don't know how closely you've been following the situation, but with the JUCO ruling and granting an extra year of eligibility for guys who played even in the last 4 years, and if that's upheld, like how it changes the landscape of college baseball. What do you see from that and moving forward, and what do you think how it will impact baseball? Yeah,
isn't that interesting? Because there was a chance Alberto was going to find a way to get back here. We were trying like heck, and he wanted to be back here. But we're still waiting on all that. But it's going to affect it for sure. The draft is still out there, though. So that's the difference, in my opinion. A lot of times the elite junior college players aren't there more than 4 years anyway in our history. Cooper Criswell has one great year he's drafted. For me, my hope is Ron Kellis comes in here and hits 25 home runs and gets drafted in the third round, and he signs. Because if he gets drafted in the third round and hit 25 home runs, we're going to have a great year. But we do have to plan for it in recruiting. It helps you maybe stay older, track more of those junior college players that take a little longer to develop. So for us, it's going to be more of like, okay, if this is the case, still though, is it a need? But it's going to change some. I don't think you'll see as many grads still top to bottom, except for the JUCOs, because the COVID factor is about over.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.